the structure was that Nicole was the lead singer, and that was the structure.
The Pussycat Dolls is one of the most intriguing groups that ever existed and also very controversial. People discuss a lot their story, but some things get often overlooked. Hi, my name is Rick, and in this video let's break down the story of this group that made a lot of success in the 2000s. I want to analyze their turbulent trajectory in a critical way, just viewing the facts and taking off the gossip aside. If you like essays about music, please subscribe to my channel, and let's go! Okay, let's start with some historical context because they had an interesting concept that was misused. As many people know, the Pussycat Dolls didn't start as a pop group, but actually it started as a burlesque troupe created by Antin in Los Angeles in the 90s within a cultural movement called Neo Burlesque. The New Burlesque was a modern revival of the 19th century Victorian burlesque show. This was a type of theatrical satire that, when it came to the United States, it became more sexualized and directed to the male audiences. It had a decline over the 20th century and came back in the 90s as a movement called Neo Burlesque. But now the shows were more artistic and political. And this is where Antin came in when she created her troupe, the Pussycat Dolls. It started as a live show in the Viper Room, a famous club in West Hollywood owned by Johnny Depp at the time, a place that a lot of celebrities used to go there. Christina Applegate was involved in the creation of the group. Robin already had a contact with the Hollywood universe. Her family was involved in the industry, and her brother Steve Antin was a popular actor in teen movies from the 80s. Steve is the one that years later directed the movie Burlesque that is inspired in her sister's story. It's relevant to say that Neo Burlesque was an underground movement, but Robin's troupe was more commercial and close to those revue shows with half-naked dancing and singing pop classics. From the Viper Room to the Roxy Theater, the troupe attracted the pop media attention and made cameos in magazines, films, video clips, Hollywood events. And around early 2000s, with the influence of Gwen Stefani, Robin signed a joint venture with Interscope Records to turn the troupe into a recording group. The members were selected from the remaining members of the troupe, and they also opened public auditions. We can consider this initial phase as their pre-debut, which lasted from 2003 to 2005. At the time, they released some soundtrack singles to test their image and sound. Even their dynamics was tested because in their first performances, the vocal lines were more distributed. That would change in 2005 when they released Don'tcha, which became their official debut and signature single. The deal about Don'tcha is that this song had already been released. I mean, not like a leaked demo, but officially released. Here's the story. CeeLo Green wrote and produced Don'tcha for Tori Amos. Her version was climbing the charts, but suddenly the label decided to pass the song to another act. Rumor says that before the Pussycat Dolls, the song was passed to names like Paris Hilton and the Sugar Babes. I think it's an exaggeration to say that Tori was robbed, because nothing legal was done. Maybe tricked is the best word. Anyway, have you guys ever listened to her version? Let me know in the comments which one you prefer. The Dolls version quickly became a massive global hit, and because of that they rushed an album release. So in 1 month came PCD, an album that for me perfectly reflects the mid-2000s pop. After 2 years, PCD had sold around 7 million copies worldwide, pushed by a series of successful singles. Despite the huge success, not everyone was buying their weird dynamic of Nicole and her lip-synced dancers. Later, she confirmed what everyone already suspected, that she recorded most of the vocals and that she was the only one taking part in songwriting.
I'll never forget I finished the album, PCD, and Ron and I brought the girls into the studio and we played it for them. And it was the first time they'd ever heard the music.
Aside from Melody's melismas, you could hear pieces and beats from the others. At the same time, Nicole was starting a solo career alongside the group. So the pushed narrative was that Nicole was stealing the spotlight and using the group as a platform for her solo career. There's no clear evidence who allowed Nicole to become the main focus, It was a 3-6 deal, which means that the record company gets a cut of everything, not just the music. That's not exactly the issue, although it tends to decrease the artist's income. In my view, the biggest issue is that they didn't have participation in the brand, and there was never a room for that to happen.
There was never an intention to create a relationship that felt like a proper, I don't know, girl band, but we were never really built as a girl band. Really, it was a joint business venture that we were cast members of. So who do you hold that against? The lead singer? I don't know. The record label? I don't know. Like head of the Dolls? I don't know. So you just spread that accountability across everything and just realize, well, you knew what you signed up for, so use it as that stepping stone, as they said it was supposed to be, and go and try and create a life that's going to feel maybe a little bit more fulfilling.
From the very beginning, the recording group, the Pussycat Dolls, have been designed to be part of Robin's franchise, which means that every member, including Nicole, was just a collaborator. As we will see later, Robin wanted a rotating lineup with members coming and going. And I think Interscope agreed to this because this model is more cheap to produce. Nicole already had a solo deal and someone had to be front and center.
And so here we are today. We have this, group of girls, and it's sort of no different today, where I'm kind of recreating it once again. Most of the girls wanted to go off and do their own thing, and I totally supported that. And I was like, you know what, I get it. You want to do that, but this is my brand, this is my baby, and I got to continue it. And I believe in the group so much, and our music, and Nicole's, she's really my partner on everything. So
Nicole will be there. There'll be new girls.
I'm bringing in new girls, and I'm really, I'm really excited.
Comparing to other major vocal groups like Spice Girls, Backstreet Boys, all of them had problems with their labels at some point. But thinking legally, the Dolls could never fire Robin or claim for more artistic freedom because the group as a brand existed before the Six Girls. Heavily manufactured groups was a tendency at the time. We had reality TVs like Making the Band. The Pussycat Dolls also had a TV show to add a new member. If we pay attention, that was almost a reconfiguration of Motown system groups, like the Supremes. But after the 70s, it's clear a preference to artists that felt more authentic, or at least the ones who knew to fake it. The Pussycat Dolls, on the other hand, could barely convince people they even like each other. In practice, the group became dependent on Nicole's voice and image, which means that if she left, the group would collapse, and that's what happened later. While Nicole was perceived as an egocentric leader, the others became just visual decorations, which reinforced a misogynistic image the media portrayed, often calling them prostitutes. All these problems became visible in their second and last release album, Nicole Domination, an album that was built from Nicole's scrapped solo material. Most of the singles had a fair performance, but the album sold very poorly. I don't think it's that easy to point why that happened, but in my opinion, it's a mix of the problems we talked about and also the music itself. Some of the tracks already felt a bit outdated, especially with electropop starting to take over. In some tracks, they didn't even try to mimic the girls' backing vocals, like they've done on PCD. Now I wanna know what you think. Do you like this album? What do you think it was missing? Nicole Domination had various reissues, including solo tracks from each member, maybe trying to balance things a bit. And then came J-Ho. The infamous credit featuring PCD featuring Nicole became one of the most bizarre controversies in pop music. It was a hit but reinforced that the Dolls were Nicole's domination. When the girls started to drop out, Robin even suggested adding new members. But after Nicole left, it was basically over.
We wanted to evolve. We wanted to, show the fans a little bit more of each of us individually, and that just wasn't really happening or the case.
In 2019, a reunion was announced. You probably remember this. It got postponed because COVID. Later, there was a legal dispute between Robin and Nicole, and the tour was cancelled. So basically, Nicole and Robin had made a partnership brand to manage the tour and new projects, including a new generation, basically continuing the idea of a rotating group centered around a solo singer. That's why the other girls had lower profit shares, because they would remain backup dancers. We don't know the new terms for this 2026 tour, only that Jessica and Carmit were simply not invited, not even informed beforehand when the first comeback was cancelled. About that deal, I think Nicole was unfairly criticized because she just wanted more involvement in a brand that the others didn't even had any share in. Her real mistake, in my opinion, was not using her position to demand equal participation between members in the recording deal. But I think Robin would never accept that because she wants to keep profiting from the brand with new members, without realizing that the public would never like that. And proof of this is that the North American leg tour was cancelled due to poor sales. Although the concert market is currently facing problems, for sure they were selling out if the public were somewhat excited. Researching for this video, I realized there is a lot of assumptions and poor told stories out there. And various times I thought of scrapping this video because I think the Pussycat Dolls story became a vulture entertainment, just like a lot of pop acts that had struggles in the industry. Things like the 360 deal, which is a format of contract where the company gets a cut of everything, not just the music, is told like the secret slave contract of the Pussycat Dolls. But a 360 deal doesn't define how much of restriction or exploitation that you have. We will need to know the details to know how bad it was. There is the Kaya Jones allegations where she never really explained that story until I found a podcast where we can assume it was an exaggeration.
But when, I mean, I see what you're saying, but when you hear a prostitution ring, my mind goes to like, were you told by Robin to sleep with men to make this group successful?
I'll put it to you this way. I think comments being made to young girls that that can help the group, that's kind of more or less how I perceive.
So I think some claims is so overstated, not to mention this hyper focus on Nicole's behavior and their personal intrigues. Because okay, she always looked very complacent to the situation of the group.
And I feel like everybody, the biggest thing in groups is people get it mixed up sometimes. Everyone has an important role, but you just can't get it switched up. Do you know what I mean?
But you assume she deliberately stole all the vocals when she was just an employee, just like the other girls, is about to taking off the blame of Robin and Ron Fair, who had the final word of everything related to the group.
Who gets final cut approval? The record
part,
company?
like,
yeah.
I mean, of the girls. Of you guys, do you guys all sort of creatively?
Because that's what they brought me in for, was a lot to do with.
The other girls worked just as hard. They traveled just as hard. They showed up. They rehearsed. They were all part of it. It was a group. But Nicole was the singer. The girls should have been gracious all along and said that the whole time.
I'm primarily a vocalist, and getting into that group, and Nicole had been signed. Yeah, she'd been signed twice. So it only made sense for her to sing the majority of the leads, but then I kept being asked to wait my turn, and then my turn just never came.
Do you think that that's what we wanted?
No, of course not. You're an artist.
We would have given anything to even just do background vocals. Yeah. We did 2 days of Raw, and that was it. That was it. And we just went along with it because she's the quarterback, and it's going to change next album, and just go with it, and it's going great. She's the best singer. Okay, fine. But after a while, it starts chipping away at your soul, and you are like,
But tell me, how do you feel about the Pussycat Dolls and this comeback? As always, we will find here. All the links researched for this video are in the pinned comment. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you soon.